Welcome back, everyone, to Too Much Popcorn, the podcast where Jimmy and I talk about movies that we recently watched and what we thought about them. We talk about things that we liked, things that we didn't like, and then ultimately we try and come to a decision on whether or not we think you, the viewers, the lucky viewers of those movies, and the lucky viewers of this podcast, you know, how people view an audio medium. Yeah,
we stopped showing the sine waves like a long time ago. I'm just telling you.
Oh, no. That was the only thing keeping people engaged.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we try and come to a decision on whether we think you, the viewer, would like to watch that movie. And this movie that we talked about this week, surprise! Surprise mode! It was actually two movies. It's a twofer. And it is the hit 2021 seminal film. 24.
Yeah, dog.
That feels too recent to be okay. Well, I'll have things to say about that now.
The hit 2024 seminal masterpiece, Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. Jake Gyllenhaal's
And
Roadhouse.
The hit 1989 seminal masterpiece, Roadhouse.
Oh, dude, we should have done the 2024 Roadhouse and then like a completely different movie and been like, wait, aren't these just the same thing?
Wasn't that what we kind of had to do anyways because of the nature of these movies and how they exist?
Okay, fair point. Yeah. Really good point.
I will say a great tidbit since we watched them last week. I broke our rule. I did a tiny bit of research. The director of 1989's hit seminal film Roadhouse is named Rowdy Harrington. That guy's name is Rowdy. And he made one of the rowdiest movies that I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah. He should have just...
Perfect name.
Yo, he should have named the movie Rowdy House.
He should have been like, hey, I didn't write this one, but can you rewrite it to be about Rowdy House?
Look, it's just a couple letters different, but I think it'll work pretty good.
Swayze, give this one a whirl. Say Rowdy House instead of Roadhouse.
Yeah. Dude, that movie was rowdy. I can't tell you how many bottles are broken in that movie, but it's got to be like a cinematic high for like movie history.
At least for the time, it did seem like the bottles broken per minute was an uncountable scale. It was just like ba 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 ba, and you're like, the budget is going away in these glasses. It was so fun to watch.
There were times where bar fights were happening and one person would like smash a bottle on someone's head. Another would smash a cup on someone's head. Someone would throw a bottle and you're like, okay, this is a pretty good cup per minute, like average. And then they would just take an entire person and then throw them into like a antique china case full of glasses.
The back of the bar is just fucking like falling off the fucking wall. Yeah.
Yeah. And they would destroy like 50 cups all in one. And you're like, all right, now that's a good average.
It was such a fun escalation from there was never a point when stuff wasn't being broken and people were getting their shit kicked in. It was a constant barrage of just like smash, crash, smash, smash. And then you're like, okay, Swayze, give it a second. Do a little Tai Chi. And he's like, okay, but when I'm done with this Tai Chi, I'm going to destroy so many fucking glasses.
I swear there was a scene where Swayze just like came home after like being at the bar and you know he like gently puts his keys down on the table and the table just completely collapsed. Was this
There's definitely a cut where he like everything he touches is just like made of sugar glass, and he's just like, oh, help! Everything I touch is broken.
was this community like almost a footloose-esque community where instead of like dancing being banned, they just banned good craftsmanship?
Nothing can be built strong to last. It has
Yeah.
to be paper thin. Everything. Yeah, that
Dude,
crazy guy who was running the town into the dirt must have had some ordinance in there where he's just like, everything has to be made by my shitty factory that makes things bad.
hello, my name is Mayor Rowdy House. Welcome to my rowdy house.
Self-insert director's getting in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
had such a blast with this movie though, man.
fucking Swayze coming in and the whole principle of him just being this legendary bouncer. So legendary, in fact, that he can go several cities over to a different bar that's like just being established, and people are like, yo, do you know who that is? That's the bouncer guy.
Yeah.
And I love that idea. And then, he gets fucking scouted by this other bar. The bar owner comes to him and is like, hey, my bar's a little bit too rowdy. I need you to come in and make it a nicer place. And then he's like, yeah, no, I'll do it. You got a hellhole here, and I'm gonna come fix it up.
I don't know if we were talking over their sort of exchange at the beginning of the movie, but like the reasoning behind him being so willing to go felt like they had to shoehorn in that he murdered a guy later.
Yeah.
Because they're like, he was so willing to get out of there, and you're like, he must have done something. And then the movie's like, he did do something, and you're like, okay, because he really was just wanting to go somewhere else, and that makes sense. But I think the film does a really good way of showing that there is this like extra layer to something going on with Swayze's character. He gives his car to the person outside, like the garage where he keeps his like nicer Beamer or whatever the fuck. And you're like, again, there's no context given to that moment in the film yet. You're just like, I mean, I guess he's going, but he has a second car already? What's going on there? And then he buys a new car in the new city, and you're like, he's doing the same thing here? Is this guy's life? And I think it builds this very like rich textured character in two moments of like questioning what the hell is even going on. You're like, why is he so willing to abandon this post that he is like so clearly doing well at? And then what's with the fucking car thing, man? Why you do that?
Yeah.
And then throughout the film, it's explained that, there's this, he's on the run in some way. And I think that's such a cool like detail to, or it's not even that he's quote unquote on the run. Like, he theoretically is, but also he just is on the run from himself. He just doesn't like the guy that he is, because he's like, I always hurt people and I fucking rip their throats out, and I can't help it. Sometimes I'm caressing someone on the throat and their throat comes out. Yeah, and it's just like a wild thing for this character to be so larger than life and be Swayze, who already is this mythical actor, where it's like the films that Patrick Swayze were in, they're generally considered timeless classics because he is in them. And like, you got Footloose, not Footloose, that's Bacon, but no, that is him? Or no, he's in Dirty Dancing.
Yeah,
I'm
Dirty
thinking Dirty
Dancing.
Dancing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Dirty Dancing, classic, right? So what is with him in these, like, is it his nuance of acting that he like really is able to get into these roles and stuff? I was so immersed in his character. He clearly carried the film for me.
Dude, he did sell it really well, and I think you bring up a really good point where, like, in that beginning moment where it's showing, like, yeah, he's coming into a new town, he's selling all his stuff. Like, this is clearly something he's done before. And I really liked that, and it helped to like establish with me his legitimacy as this like mythical creature to all these people. Because like that to me sold that he believes in himself so much that he is just like, yeah, I've already done this at one place. I've allegedly done this at other places before, and I'm so good at it and have done it so well at this one place that I feel comfortable leaving it to go to another place and make it better. Like that'd be like if you worked at some office and you're like, "Yep, I've put together all of the spreadsheets and I've done it so well. I'm now going to go work at that office and put together other spreadsheets and everyone's going to love me."
I'm so good at the office. I've fixed this office, and they have another office off in Kentucky that needs my help. And he ruffles his cape away.
But I'm sorry, this office, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
And they're like, what does that mean?
Yeah. And then people start breaking glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did love that part when he was like, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And then it didn't really get that much worse. Like,
it was weird because it like took a while in the context of the film to feel like it got worse.
Yeah.
And then it did get like so much worse.
It did. They did drive the
So
monster
bad.
truck through the car lot. They did blow up a couple houses. But I didn't feel like that was really in context to what was happening at the bar.
Yeah, it did seem like he was like, at this bar, it's going to get a lot worse. And then the whole town was like, actually, it got worse. You expanded the worstness to so many small businesses in this town.
Yeah.
You could have kept it at the Double Deuce, but you had to spread it around to literally 3 to 4 other small businesses here. What happened?
We're now dealing with beef in an entire city because of this bar that isn't even like a cultural touchstone for us. I don't.
It's like, we don't even like the name Double Deuce.
Yeah.
Dalton, what are you doing here?
Okay, yeah. So that was something, I think I have beef with that in the movie. The movie's called Roadhouse. That should have just been the name of the bar, Call it the Roadhouse.
What do you mean? What do you mean? It's a bar. It's a bar on a road. It's a house on a road.
And true,
That's a roadhouse.
It was a literal roadhouse, but
Are you beefing with it because it exists as the Roadhouse in the 2024 seminal hit masterpiece Roadhouse?
Oh, I'm beefing with it. No, I'll give it so much leverage.
And you like that one is called Roadhouse, even though it's a tiki bar?
See, that's why I'm going to give it leverage, because the 2024 one had the gall to not even like they do that thing, right, where he shows up in, Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays essentially Patrick Swayze, shows up, and then he pops out of the bus that he gets on. And he goes, oh, yeah, look at this great new town. And he looks over and he sees this bookstore. And then next to it, it was like a salon or something named like the Roadhouse.
It was a restaurant.
Okay, yeah.
Called the Double Deuce.
Yeah. And it was like, guys, that's not a fun callback
It wasn't fun.
It wasn't.
It was actually like, oh, so you're willing to put the Double Deuce in this movie, but not as the actual Roadhouse? You want to call the Roadhouse the Roadhouse?
Yeah.
So that you can do one bit. You can do one bit where the boat is called the boat.
Yeah. And then, and see, that whole logic did not make any sense to me. So, after he deals with this bookstore, he goes to the Roadhouse that he's supposed to work at, and he's talking to the owner there, and she's like, oh, yeah, we named this the Roadhouse because it's a roadhouse, and my uncle was so bad at naming things that he just came up with the idea of it and called it the Roadhouse. And it's like, okay, but this isn't a roadhouse. You look at the interior of this bar. You look at the exterior of this bar. If I was driving by this bar in fucking Miami or wherever it was, and I saw it, I'd be like,
dude, South Keys, come on, man. It's on the Keys, brother.
It's on the Keys. That was a whole plot point with the alligators.
The whole plot point is that it's on one road, and it's a house on a road.
Yeah, but if I was driving by this bar and I saw it, I'd say, oh, that is clearly a tiki bar. And so
And then you drive in and you see the sign that says Roadhouse, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
for then, yeah, for it to then be called the Roadhouse, I'd be like, I'm not stopping there at all. Like,
well,
I don't know.
good, because they have bad clientele.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
then they needed some fixing up.
If I was driving down, I-90 and I saw a Starbucks and on the outside it said McDonald's, I'd be like, well, nope, that's not it.
I would be so concerned if like you see the big yellow arches. Or would you see the Starbucks logo? I don't know what part you're seeing, but one of them is mismatched, and then you're like, you sort of like get a quick glance in the window, and you're not sure if they're making coffee or burgers, and you're just like,
See, I think for it to for that analogy to fully fit into what this movie did, it would literally be a Starbucks location. You know, the little green box that all the stores
Gotcha.
look like.
Yes.
It has the Starbucks logo on the outside. You go in there, you're like, hey, I'm going to order a coffee. Even the inside looks like a Starbucks. You know, it's got all the same chairs. It's got all the little
and
same
they're like,
lounge
we're
areas.
McDonald's.
It's got the menu that has all the coffees up there. You're like, yeah, I'd like a grande latte. They're like, oh, yeah, no, only burgers. Only burgers.
And they don't even flip anything to be McDonald's. It's just
Yeah,
like,
it's just,
how do
it's
you
only-
not know this isn't a McDonald's? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
You couldn't fucking tell? It's a McDonald's. It's a Roadhouse. We're such
What do
a
you
bad
mean?
place.
It's a Roadhouse. Yeah, everybody's beating the shit out of each other in this fucking Starbucks.
We gotta hire Dalton quick.
Now that I would watch in the upcoming hit seminal film sequel to Roadhouse 2024 starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Roadhouse 2. Oh, did we just spoil it? I feel bad for spoiling their new plot.
You know, if they go full comedy on it, I would actually probably enjoy it a lot more than the movie that we did watch. The hit seminal 2024 film Roadhouse.
Yeah. See, and then so the owner of this bar, she owns this tiki bar. And, you know, she tries to give that same premise as in the first one of being the owner that comes to Dalton and is like, hey, I need you to clean up my bar because it's a really rowdy place and it's full of all these bad people. And this movie, okay, the first movie, completely sold. Yes, bad place. They didn't even have a floor to the bar. They were
dirt.
breaking bottles. They were breaking cups. People were getting shivved. It was crazy. And I felt, I was like, oh man, if I was driving by and I stopped in here for a little, grande latte burger and wanted, my food,
Terrible mental image of dunking a burger in a fucking latte. It's one of the worst things I've ever.
hey, coming 2027 to Star Donald's.
Stondals.
But yeah, if I was at this bar and tried to eat there and people start breaking their shit, I'd be like, yeah, I'm out of here. I don't like this.
I gotta go.
Yeah. But like they're at this tiki bar and yeah, people are like throwing bottles at the fence where the, people singing are. And then like, some other people start fighting, but like the crowd in this bar, I specifically remember like watching as the extras were just like sitting there and they were just like, oh yeah, look, a fight. And it was like, it was not selling to me at all that this was a dangerous place. And a tiki bar in general just does not sell to me a dangerous place.
I mean, I think to go even one step further is the whole crux of the 1989 Roadhouse movie is the guy approaches Patrick Swayze, this legendary figure who infinite amount of bars behind you don't even know how many things he's cleaned up before this movie because of this aura around him. In the 2024 film, she wasn't even going to get Jake Gyllenhaal for the job. He wins because of his aura of infinite fights won behind him, but she wasn't. She was like, oh, I was trying to hire Post Malone.
Yeah.
I was here for Post Malone, but even Post Malone is scared of you, but I never heard of you. And then she's like, I did hear of you, actually. I just didn't know you'd be here. And it's like, can you just be there for Jake Gyllenhaal so that we can be there with you? Because when you're there for Post Malone, just make the Post Malone movie. I don't fucking care. Like, you're there for him. The only reason that Post Malone isn't here anymore is because you got Jake Gyllenhaal killing people in the ring. And you're like, oh, God. I'm not fucking with this guy. He'll literally kill me. Yeah. So there's just a disconnect between... But it's like, if you're starting the movie there, then you have to go somewhere different than... I mean, you just are a completely different movie. And I think you're tagging on the Roadhouse name because you're like, well, in the movie we named the bar the clearly tiki bar themed. it's got the straw roof, it's got sort of the tiki beverage menu. We named it Roadhouse so that it's a Roadhouse movie. And I think it's fair for them in the beginning to say this is a reimagining of Roadhouse and not maybe like an homage, or I don't really know what they should have called it, but it's definitely like someone else's imagination of what Roadhouse was, because it's not at all what the 1989 movie was about. And so for us to even be talking about them in the same breath is so disrespectful to the first movie, because it feels like the only tie is the name, and that there's a bar. And other than that, they're two so wholly different movies that I felt crazy that we had just watched the 1989 movie. And then we watched 2024 and we're like, oh, this is going to be great. I loved that 1989 movie. Let's watch this one with Jake Gyllenhaal. He's jacked in this movie. That's crazy. And then we watch it and we're like, a reimagining. Let's adopt a different lens for how to intake the rest of this movie now, because I can't really understand what's happening. Oh, the Conor McGregor's here.
Oh, we'll get to that. It was very much as if, a la this podcast, right, where we saw it last week, and we're trying to remember all the stuff that happened with the new Roadhouse. It was as if they had watched it years ago. I'll give them months ago even. And they were like, oh, dude, we should do a follow-up movie to this. And hey, we just saw it recent enough that we can remember exactly how to write this from memory. So we're going to rewrite it exactly as we remember it. And they forgot a lot of details. But they were like,
all
okay.
of the details.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So we got a bar, we got a bouncer, and then he's going to show up to that bar, and then rowdy antics are going to ensue. And that's all we need. And yeah, no, it needed more of that. Like, it didn't have that same heart. And, you know, going to the original, right, we literally just talked about how Swayze sets up his character and shows how great he is at doing the one thing that he does. And then, yeah, this movie, the new one, absolutely did not do that. They didn't even show Jake Gyllenhaal fighting Post Malone. He literally just shows up and is like, and then Post Malone's like, oh, I don't want to fight that man. That's Post Malone's voice, by the way. Oh, dear. Post Malone, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. That wasn't supposed to be insulting.
You're my sunflower.
Yes.
My spring daisy.
You know, and so it was like, you guys can't even show me that this guy is good at anything. The one thing that he's supposedly good at, you're not even going to show me that. And then to, you know, have this woman be like, oh, yes, that is who I want to do this one important thing. My business is about to go out of business, and I need to get someone really good at their job. So I'm going to find this guy who didn't even prove he's good at it to do that job.
He just has the air of being good at something.
Yeah. Like, if that same office that hired Swayze had actually been like, okay, so we need to hire a completely new person to come in and do these spreadsheets, and they see some murderer walking down the street, and they're like, oh, yeah, that guy. That's who we're hiring. He looks good at this job. He's wearing a suit. We can hire him.
So, okay, wait. Let me extend the office sort of allegory here we're trying to do, because I definitely have a disconnect. Jake Gyllenhaal's character, he wins the fight, quote unquote, by not fighting because he has an air of violence about him, and sort of, his actions precede him. They speak louder than words. Either way, he does have a legendary status to him. What is the office? What are they doing hiring a murderer? Do they think this murderer has a legendary status of doing spreadsheets, but not seeing him do the spreadsheets? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, completely.
But they don't know he does a murder.
Completely did not check his CV or prior criminal history. They were just like, hey, he came in and he was wearing a suit and he looked like he was really put together. That's our guy.
He said he had done a lot of spreadsheets in the past.
I would love to see a 20-minute version of this movie where they set it up exactly the same. The same Post Malone fight, Jake Gyllenhaal showing up in the Keys. He gets to the Roadhouse and she's like, oh yeah, we're having trouble with all these bikers coming in. And he's like, oh, cool, yeah, great. The bikers come in, they start making trouble. And he's like, hey, guys, get out of here. And then they just beat the absolute piss out of him.
he literally, crumples, just like...
Yeah. The first punch comes in, hits him on the glass jaw. He goes down, and they just kick the crap out of him.
Kick it in the sternum. In different places, they're kicking him, yeah.
Yeah,
I think there is a movie where that happens, and then, literally the bar it cuts to, a wide shot of the bar, and it just explodes. I would watch that 20-minute short in a heartbeat. I would watch that so fast.
Yeah.
It would be such a good movie.
It's 5 solid minutes of him just getting curb stomped by these bikers.
Dude. I mean, to go back to the reality of the film, though, I think when we were watching it, you mentioned the funny thing about this biker gang that came in, and funny enough, there's that character who was also in Tron Ares as the comedic relief, and he's in this group as well as the comedic relief. It just seems to be his sort of thing. But the main guy that you're supposed to be sort of afraid of is so cartoonishly overacting and just I'm gonna break a pool cue. What are you gonna do about that? He's he is an animatronic Chuck E. Cheese guy that's I'm a scary bully. You better run away from me or I'm gonna... And there's no reason for us as the audience to even be afraid of him, because we are now surrogated to Jake Gyllenhaal, who is not afraid of him because he's a psychotic murderer. And so he's being threatened by this guy who breaks a pool cue, and he's like, we are rough and tough, and we're gonna beat you up. And I think that the movie fails to establish that those guys are fake bad guys. They're just rich kids, the rich kids' friends, or, hired toughs. They're very, from Greece, we're gonna fucking, there was just... But we were watching it, and you noted that. You're like, oh, this guy's not funny, not scary at all. And we were like, is he a bad actor? What's going on here? There's no genius move here happening, though. It just doesn't sell the reality of what we were expecting from Roadhouse. Again, we had just watched we watched them within 10 minutes of each other. We ended 1989 and then we started 2024. So we had the full breadth of 1989 going on in our heads. And then we're like, okay, but what is all this then? What is happening? Why are they fake? And the movie in 2024, I think, tries to sort of establish this as scary, as something tangible and real that Jake Gyllenhaal should deal with. But the whole time, it's just even in the movie, Jake Gyllenhaal's character just takes the money, and even in some fights is just drinking at the bar, and stuff's going on, and you're he has no connection to this until a certain breaking point in the movie has to happen, and you're what is happening here? Everyone's motives in this movie are so fucked up.
Dude, you said it really well when we were watching the movie, the 2024. You know, the guy comes in and he starts doing his bit of like, I'm gonna rough and tumble this place. Ah, look here, I'm gonna tie a woman to the train tracks and blow her up with dynamite. And you specifically said this guy feels like he's an actor who was told to play a bad person part, and it's like he's in theater school doing his rehearsal for this bit. And that was so accurate. I remember laughing so hard at that because it was what I was watching. It was an actor who was told to play, you know, West Side Story-esque character, you know, okay, now go in there and, show him your switchblade, you know, like, you know, he was all over the bar. He was so active and mobile. Like, it was perfect film school for, like, what you would see. And, yeah, it felt so cornball.
Yeah, and we just hadn't established a fiction in the movie that made sense to be doing.
Yeah.
It was just like,
and
I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was here for a real reason.
To have the biker gang have the comedic relief guy in their biker gang was so off-putting too, because one, he was not funny at all.
Not in this movie. Tron Ares, he got a little chuckles on me.
Yeah, there were some funny bits where I said, that's funny.
Huh. That's right. There is.
But this time, I did not even give a,
Not even. We didn't even get one of those.
Yeah. But to have a comedic relief in their biker gang was so weird, right? That it was just like, what are you guys doing here?
I think it leaned too hard into like early Marvel, or that like shift of Marvel where everything was quippy, because they're interacting with Jake Gyllenhaal, and then Jake Gyllenhaal's like, which one's your bike? And he's like, oh, it's the last one on the left. And you're like, you're having this sort of cordial banter conversation here, and I don't know you guys, and I don't, at this part in the film, I don't even know Jake Gyllenhaal. Is he a psychopathic killer that earned the ire of all these different, people in this fight group and all this sort of stuff? He gets stabbed in the beginning of the movie because he was so legendary that he stopped the fight, and all the people that bet on Post Malone to win the night are pissed at him, and one literally stabs him in like the first scene of the movie.
Some fucking rando comes up, literally goes, "Hey, Dalton." Dalton turns around, the guy sticks him with the knife, and then walks away without the knife. He just left the knife in him. And Jake Gyllenhaal was just like, I remember his reaction was just like, "Oh, not again." And it was like, brother, what?
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I think we stepped into this movie and it was so much like, again, I wouldn't say funnier. I'd say it was trying to be funnier, in that it was trying to bridge out into this comedy.
I want to say,
thing.
Like, if I had to describe the feelings that I was having between in the 2024 version versus the 89, was I felt cringe. This movie felt cringy. Where,
oh no,
yeah, it was just like everything they were doing. I was just kind of like, no, oh God, don't do that.
And that's one of the worst feelings to me, because I feel like it does take me a bit to get there, but I know exactly what you're talking about for this movie. It was like, oh no, everything you're doing is, stop, you have to stop.
Because one of the scenes that I wanted to land really well, I saw it in one of the trailers, and I like remember thinking like, oh, this could be a fun movie because this scene looks like a lot of fun. It was that scene where he goes out to, supposedly destroy their bikes, and they follow him. And then he has this, like, fun conversation of like, oh, I don't really want to beat you guys up. Oh, do we all know where the hospital is? Because that's where you're going after this. And, in the trailer, it looked very funny. I was like, oh, great. You know, Dalton is known to be this guy who has these rules to always be nice to people. And so if he's going to beat the crap out of somebody, he's going to beat him up. It looks great. You know, oh, hey, he's even open hand slapping people. And that's, you know, less punishing to somebody's face than a close hand fist. And so I was really excited for that. And then it happened, and the whole exchange just felt so bad. It was the exact same thing from the trailer, but when I saw it in the movie, I was like, oh, and maybe it was because of the way that that villain, quote unquote, was set up, where like when this fight's happening, I was just like, oh no, ugh, God, this sucks.
Don't beat up that guy. He's special.
He doesn't know what he's doing, Jake.
He doesn't know.
Jake, yo, stop.
Jake, please. He doesn't know. Jake.
Yeah. And then to have the follow-up scene too, right, where he takes them to the hospital, conceptually very funny, right? Like, again, I could see the 1989 Dalton doing that, because he had that rule of like, you know, you always be nice. You always be nice. Even if you're beating the crap out of somebody, you're always being nice to them. And it was like, hey, great. Yeah, if you're going to beat somebody up, hey, drive them to the hospital. I love that idea. It's funny. But to have Jake Gyllenhaal not have that same rule set, weirdly beat these people up in a nice way, and then take them to the hospital was just like, ugh, this sucks.
We had built this Dalton, 2024 Dalton, as her, you know, like legendarily violent and dangerous. And then he comes into the situation and is like, I'm going to be nice to these people. And we're like, why? They're clearly antagonizing you. There's no reason for you to be nice to them. They clearly want to beat the shit out of you. Why are you doing why does this decision coming from? And it was just like, he wasn't even told not to beat the crap out of anybody. If anything, the woman who hired him probably was like, kill these men. like, oh, I hope maybe this guy who legendarily killed someone in the ring will kill these men that are trying to accost me at my establishment. What else could she have been thinking?
I think in her mind, she hired a hitman. And then she realized, oh, I did not actually hire a hitman. I actually hired someone who's very disinterested in the whole situation that's going on here.
So uninvested.
Because
the money was not enough, apparently.
You know, again, right, looking at 89 Dalton, he comes in and first thing he does is he watches the bar for the whole night. And then he assesses like, okay, you gotta go. You gotta go. You're doing this. You gotta go. Oh, you can stay. Okay, now you're going to antagonize me. You're going to go. And he fires a bunch of people. And then that helps to like set the legitimacy of the bar up in the first place. And it's great. And then to go further than that, then he sets himself up not as just a regular bouncer, but as the cooler. They call him the cooler. And he's
cool name.
Yeah. Oh, great name. And then he's
the cooler.
The manager of all the bouncers, so that when stuff starts happening, it's the the man to fish thing, right? He like sees something happening and he literally like points to one of his other bouncers and he's like, hey, go like take care of that. And I loved that idea.
Nice.
Yeah,
he's pointing at him.
Be nice.
Hey.
Yeah, and then like the people are like mean to the bouncer and he's like, no, be nice to him. Because he like set up with his team, like, we have these 3 rules. Take things outside. Be nice to people. The third rule that I don't remember.
We're not the bouncers. We don't need to know.
Yeah, don't hurt me, Swayze. And so to then have 2024 Dalton come in, doesn't say a single word to the crew, doesn't really introduce himself. When he's like working there, they're like, oh yeah, have you heard who that is? That's Dalton. And it's like, yeah, who the hell is that? And then he doesn't like lay out his rules and expectations. He just sits at the end of the bar. He kind of tries to like inspire the crew to do stuff. Like there's one point where some people are fighting and he sees one of the other bouncers that works there. I don't even think that guy was a bouncer. He was like another like waiter. And
he was at the rentals outside. He was at the different stall for like water stuff.
There was that guy, but there was the other. It was like the blonde kid.
I thought he was the bouncer. The shaggy hair kid?
Yeah, I guess he was the bouncer, but I was getting
He
waiter
was like
vibes
the
from
bouncer.
him.
I mean, it's just because he's a scrawny little twerp looking guy. Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
have the beefy bouncer vibe from, the movie we had previously watched.
The good movie. Yeah, and so then, Swayze kind of like has that guy deal with something, and then that kid gets the crap kicked out of him, and then Swayze steps in and is like, now I'm gonna come in and rough up these people, and he just goes straight to fighting them, and it was like so polarly opposite to '89 Dalton that it was just like, oh, okay, this is I guess, reimagining and completely different.
I mean, sometimes you gotta sort of reimagine something that you want to make without actually wanting to pay even an homage or anything besides just using the name, getting it in writing that it is a Roadhouse, and then getting it made, because apparently that's a lot of movies these days. So,
because I think the other
it's
thing
at least
too,
this movie
that was homaged to, but just completely different and sucked, was all of the fighting scenes.
Well, let's get back to the fighting after a quick commercial break.
Excellent. Well, I definitely didn't want to fight you on going to that ad break, that's for sure. I'm gonna come in and rough you up. It's me,
Put up your
Post
dukes.
Malone. Oh God, Jimmy, Post Malone's here. Yeah, that's right, it's me.
Why does he have a cigar in his mouth?
Hey, he's got a monocle and a top hat. Yeah, it's me, Post Malone. You see?
I'm your sunflower.
Love you, Post.
Or Malone, I don't know.
don't
Anyways, back to the action of the film. The action. Kick butt action. I will say, it sucked completely in 2024. All hollow. No good cuts. Looked bad. Speed ramping, bad. Action choreo, bad. Using the scene information that we had collected before did not work. Pretty much some of the worst shit ever. You even get Conor McGregor in there, who is like a real fighter. You know, you're like, if you get punched by Conor McGregor, you know you're in pain because he's a real fighter. Even him fighting looked bad. Bad movie.
And see, that was another thing that I was very excited for this movie from the trailer. Was I saw Conor McGregor and I said, oh, this is a cool idea to put an actual MMA fighter in there, because Ronda Rousey-esque in Fast and Furious 5, like she's
in one of those?
She's in one of them. It's the one with the tower where they drive the car out the one tower and into the other tower.
Oh, in like Dubai? Yeah.
Yeah.
They do that.
Yeah. But Ronda Rousey-esque, right? She did some really cool MMA stuff, and it looked really good because she knows how to move like a fighter. And so I thought the same thing was going to happen with McGregor. I thought he was going to come in and do some really cool action moves and, stump people, have a great time choreographing people who actually know how to fight, because they actually know how to look like they fight. And so I was like, great, this movie's going to look awesome because he's going to know how to look like a fighter. And he did some very cool things. There was that one side pin where Jake Gyllenhaal was like, he had him in a pretty good control. And then
that was cool.
McGregor
totally
rolled out of
flips
it.
him over.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
That was a great move. And so, like, groundwork stuff like that looked great because it was fairly static. But any of the actual movement sucked so bad. Ugh. Because they were trying to, ramp it up and move it. And thanks to the algorithm, Instagram, gave me this video this week that was literally talking about the fight scenes, and it was like breaking down. It was like a behind the scenes, and the director's like, "Oh yeah, and I feel really bad for making fun of this guy, but whatever."
Who, Doug? You gotta make fun of Doug.
So He was literally like, "Oh yeah, we're so proud of the action that we've put in this movie because we did some really great technology to make it, all the action looks faster and looks, closer together, and so it's gonna look more realistic because we did this technology that smushes the actors together so that a punch looks like it actually lands." Brother, that's not
No,
how
no,
punches work.
sir.
You can't just throw a punch at someone and have a fist land on someone and then have zero movement from that person getting hit. It looked
It's action
bad.
reaction.
Yeah. There were times where, like, you saw Conor McGregor, he would wind up, throw his punch, hit Jake Gyllenhaal, and then there was, like, zero movement from Jake Gyllenhaal. And it was like, that's not how punches work. And it, like, was breaking my reality because I'm like, I've seen people get punched before. I've seen Conor McGregor punch people. I've watched his fights. That is not what happens when he punches people. And
Yeah.
so
You'll
then,
see like a body reverberate
yeah.
from like a punch.
And so to then have like all of this speed ramping and motion blur. They had motion blur in there. It looked so bad.
So much motion blur. It was insane.
And it was hiding a lot of the action that should have been, put on display
Crisp.
and exemplified.
Yeah. Get some of those crisp hits in. Get the spit coming out of somebody's mouth. Get something. I think it was even highlighted again for me in 2024. There's that one scene where he's walking down the road and they try to like run him off the road and they speed ramp the truck.
Yeah.
They speed ramp the truck so unnaturally. There's just no, you're like, well, I guess it was like a safe stunt or fully CG or something, but there's absolutely no reality to the movement after whatever they applied to that shot happened. And that carried over to so much of the action scenes and fight choreography where it was just like so much unreality happening. And it was just like, the hits didn't mean anything because there was like everyone's made of rubber. It nothing really mattered. There was, I think, not a lot of collateral damage until Conor McGregor shows up and finally is like this big powder keg chaos bomb that then the movie is just like, when Conor McGregor shows up, things explode. He'll kill a shark. I don't fucking know. He's crazy. Everyone else besides Conor McGregor like doesn't do anything. It's like the film needed Conor McGregor to come in to be like, oh, I know how to fight. I'm Irish. It was like there was just nothing connecting me to the reality of the film. And again, it felt like it was all this play acting where it was like, we're going to burn down this bookstore. And we're like, well, okay, fine. We've seen it like 2 times. I don't know. In 1989, they made the Roadhouse where you get the rapport and the small town nature where it's like, oh, the owner of this hardware, vehicle parts store is the dad of this other lady, or like, like he's integrated into the thing. His place burns down. Swayze had been there like 3 to 4 times during the movie. So it's like very important to him that this place is now gone. And therefore it's important to us, the audience. The bookstore burns down. We're like, do we really care? Because Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't really care. He's sort of like, I think they make him sort of have a caring thing right at the end where he like does a little, I'm Robin Hood, whatever the fuck. But to that point, there wasn't a reason for us, the audience. We were in Jake Gyllenhaal's shoes, and his shoes only start to really become those like concrete. Oh, I'm in that one moment when he decides that he's finally gonna like kill people. He's finally like, oh, I'm gonna take this seriously now because I'm crazy. And in the movie, that then doesn't make me feel good about what Jake Gyllenhaal does. That makes me feel concerned for everyone else. I go, oh no, you've activated this deeper being that the legends came from. And now I'm scared of the protagonist. And I'm like, it's not because I'm bad. I'm not worried Jake Gyllenhaal is going to beat me up. I'm just worried now that we've unlocked something in the film that didn't exist in the canon before. It was like Patrick Swayze's character ripping that guy's throat out, going that extra mile, getting to the end, the culmination of all of his bad deeds and all this sort of stuff. But that switch in the 2024 movie is so fragile of a moment where it just is like, oh no, where did this come from?
Yeah.
And you're like, and then you're just scared because you're like, I don't know where this guy came from. I don't know who he is. He needs to get out of here. And then he's like, I'm determined to do this thing now. And you're like, but you weren't determined to do this thing the whole movie preceding this moment where you snapped. What happened, Jake?
Because I can't even tell you why the bookstore burned down. Like, they didn't show it happening. I
couldn't tell you either.
I think they alluded that, like, oh, it was the bad people. They came in because they didn't like something. I don't even remember why they didn't like what happened.
Oh, wait. I've got it. She snitched on them for stealing from, like, the gas station convenience store at, like, one time.
Okay. See, and even that is just like, oh, so then they decided to burn down this bookstore. It was such a weird. It was like, okay, we need an impetus to make Jake Gyllenhaal crazy. So yeah, that's what it's gonna be. And it was like, I guess. And then the whole thing, and you know what? I'm gonna spoil the movie. I'm gonna do it. Because I got to talk about how it ends, because the ending was so dissatisfying to the first one, where at the end they're literally like, you've killed people, we don't like you anymore, get out of here. And then he's just like, yeah, I killed a couple people, so I'm gonna get out of here. And then he does. And, like, he doesn't even do the noble thing of, like, oh, I'm going to leave all the money to, because I completely messed up your guys' bar. So I'm just going to leave the money. He doesn't do that. He takes the money. He just dips out on a bus after killing 2 people.
No, he leaves the money at the bookstore.
Did he?
Yes. He leaves the whole bag of money at the bookstore.
Okay. See, I didn't remember that, but doesn't make things better. Because, yeah, he was just like, they were like, get out of here. And he was like, okay, I will. And they were like, good. And he was like, yeah, I will. I got to go make a sequel now. And they're like, all right, get out of here. He was like, I've already heard. It was so dissatisfying.
I'm not upset that he left, because there is an element of the 1989 movie where Patrick Swayze kills a bunch of people. And then the doctor, who originally earlier in the movie is like, I don't like that you're dangerous. That's bad. She knows that he kills all these people. Yeah. And then she's like, pool party.
Yeah. Dude,
so there's kind of a problem with that for me.
See, I'm going to feel like a hypocrite because I should have a problem with that too. And I think it's because
it's whimsical enough.
I know. I think I'm giving it the, like, 1989 leverage of, like, this is so goofy, it's fun. Where
it's campy. It's so high camp that you're like, it does get away with it. It's not realistic. Again, it didn't tarnish the film for me at all.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fit with the fiction that the film had set up. But I'm like, it's 1989. They can literally do that. 2024, not so much.
Okay, maybe this helps to justify it, right? Maybe it was because the bad guys were doing so much bad stuff to the town, right? They drove the monster truck through the car lot. They blew up a couple buildings. They tried to kill a couple members of the community. That when Swayze
they killed Sam Elliott.
Dude, we haven't even talked about Sam Elliott yet. Okay, I gotta put that on the list.
Oh my god, dude! Wait,
he was too
wait
hot.
a second.
He was too hot to not talk about in this movie. Okay, but
shelve it.
Yeah, the bad guys do all this bad stuff. And so when Swayze does his thing, it is truly heroic. And so I can see how, she's like, okay, you did a heroic thing. So I'll give them that. Plus, it was kind of fun how they did that, like, oh yeah, we're a small town. We didn't see anything. Hoink. And it's like, okay, that's super skeevy, but I like it.
High camp 89 literally ends with a pool party.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But, I guess it's more legitimate where they're like, we didn't see anything. But, Gyllenhaal, he gets pushed over the edge because they burned down the bookstore. And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to start killing people. And they're like, okay, yeah, you killed people. Get out of here. And he was like, okay.
But also, we didn't see anything. So we're not going to arrest you, but you do have to leave. No pool party in this one.
But if anybody asks me any serious questions about who killed somebody, you better believe that I am going to throw you under the bus because I have no... Yeah, because there was just no reason for that gentleman who was the sheriff to be like, yeah, I got your back. He literally, like... I guess Gyllenhaal saved his daughter or whatever.
I was going to say, like, very wishy-washy on saving the daughter type thing.
Yeah, it was, again, so loose, footloose, that it just was not sellable to me. I wasn't sold.
It was a loose with it. It was a foot loose with it. It was dirty. It was a dancing dirty. It was a dirty dancing.
It was a dirty dancing time.
Yeah.
But you know what I was sold on? Sam Elliott and his whole look and his whole vibe. Because, dude.
Wait, we gotta talk about Sam Elliott.
I gotta throw him in here. I got distracted from my whole Conor McGregor fight because I still had a couple more good points. But you know what?
He was so handsome in that movie, though. I was like, oh, there's Sam Elliott. And you're like, oh my God, whoa.
Why does he look so good? Dude,
he looked so good in that movie. It's crazy.
Yeah. Dalton calls him up. They like get him from behind. They show he's got long hair, and you're like, oh wait, he's gonna turn around. You're gonna see that glorious mustache. Nope. Turns around. 5 o'clock shadow, and you're like, whoa!
It's a crazy look for Sam Elliott, who I've only known as the guy with the big mustache for like the past 30 years.
Yeah, and then he comes in, he's saying cool stuff. Not as classic like almost McConaughey-esque, life advice stuff. But he's just like, yeah, what's up, brother? Let's go clean up another bar. And then Dalton's like, yeah, brother, we're going to do it. And then they do it. And it was just like, good vibes. Good brotherly vibes.
Yeah, Sam Elliott's character is really cool, too, because of that reuniting scene where they hang out with the doctor and, they're getting beers and they're hanging out. And it's like there is that melancholy about him where he is like dancing with her and he's like, I'm just trying to steal you. It's like they have that camaraderie of friendship and that type of stuff. But there is sort of like the life that both of these men have chosen to do this job. It's like Sam Elliott clearly doing similar work wherever he is because, he breaks up that fight. He's like, got a fight going on, when they're on the phone. And so it's like, it is cool to see two of the same guy, like, interacting with this woman that's like the clear love interest. And then, having this commiserate moment in the film. It's such a fun thing when an 80s movie that is breaking so many glasses, doing all this insane rowdy shit, has that moment of just like, it's 10 a.m. We're drinking our Millers in a diner. Yeah. They allowed us to drink.
We're drinking all drunk. Day. Plus, I think it was great because it did something which I can't even think of another movie that has tried to do this accurately. Where you have Swayze, who's playing Dalton, and he's cool. He is a cool guy. And they have set up a cool character. So you're like, all right, we've already got one great character. And then they're like, all right, now we're bringing in Sam Elliott, who's playing this side character, who's going to be in the movie a quarter of the time that Dalton's in it. And you're like, okay, they're now establishing this character that is cooler than the main character. Like,
actively cooler.
Yeah. Like, that is wild to have somebody who's already like 9 out of 10 cool. And then you're like, all right, we're going to establish a 10 out of 10 cool dude and bring him into the movie and have him as just a side character. And like, I
Yeah.
think there's other movies that have tried doing that, like they got their main character and then they try and have someone who's cooler, but it never comes off as cooler, and they're like almost afraid to like make that other side character cooler. But like, man, they did it in this one.
And it is a wonder how it worked at all, because it feels like Sam Elliott's character is Dalton's mentor, like old enough that they, taught each other, and student becomes the master type situation where Sam Elliott is not as relevant to Dalton's life anymore, but clearly had that impact. It was such a cool, I think, that singular conversation on the telephone that they have before he clearly comes and visits and like is more intricate to the plot and that type of stuff. That conversation establishes that he's cooler, and because it stops and you don't have to see him again for a little bit, you're just like, that guy's so fucking cool. What the heck? What's he doing not in the movie, Dalton? Where is he? You called him up. Is he going to be relevant later at all? And it's like, obviously it is. It's Sam Elliott. You got him the part. But yeah, it was a wild thing, I agree, for the movie to do, is establish the cooler guy, and for it to be Sam Elliott and just be like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, because they have that phone call, and like you're expecting on that phone call for Swayze to be like, hey man, why don't you come down here right now and like help me clean up this bar. They don't even do that. They're just like, so long, brother, see you when the wind blows through town. Like, if we meet up, we meet up. And it was like, oh, I guess that's all that Sam Elliott's gonna be in this movie. So okay, that was great, but I want more of that. And then then he comes back and you're just like, whoa, he's back, good. And that was a lot of fun.
It was sick. I could not believe that he was in that movie as that character. I mean, it was wild.
Yeah.
The foil to Swayze, in that they were the same dude but like 10 years different, was like, okay, hell yeah. Because it emphasizes the thing that worked so well in 1989 that I think they completely abandoned in 2024. This reimagining that they did in 2024 completely lost the thing that was so important and cool about 1989's Roadhouse, was that Dalton was a mysterious and broken character that was looking for just like life, was looking for stability, was on the search for these things. And so for him to like be reaching out to these people, reaching out to this doctor, he has his whole medical history on him at all times. It's like, this is a guy that is living out of a car, living out of like a place by place rent basis. He goes and lives on a farm. It's not that he's destitute. He's making a ton of money doing this job. It's just that the stability of his life is so at odds with like what he wants, because he's like, he knows he's dangerous, but he doesn't want to be dangerous, but it's a good job to be dangerous and analyze danger and all this sort of stuff. And I think 2024 makes the argument that like an MMA fighter is doing that. Makes the argument that an MMA fighter is a cooler in terms of they can beat the shit out of someone and come out on top and like keep on swinging. And if you're an MMA fighter that's so good that you're running away from being an MMA fighter because you killed somebody, where is that connecting to like the nuance that Swayze's character has in terms of like them actually being good at something? Because I think Jake Gyllenhaal's Dalton is not good at anything anymore. They were good at one thing. They were good at beating the shit out of people in MMA. They were so good at it, they killed a guy. And then, because he's so good at it and he's so scary, he's hired to do this thing, but it's not that he's good at making bars. Yeah, and it wasn't even. It's revealed later. Again, you already spoiled the movie for him leaving, but it's like the owner of the Roadhouse, this woman, hires him because she knows that the crime boss rich kid is trying to build this big resort and knock down the Roadhouse. And she doesn't tell Dalton that. And therefore Dalton is like deceived, but he's like, there's no reason for him to be mad about that. Cause he's like, if he improves the business, he's already making the money. It's just, there's no conceptual tie for him to be there. And so he feels so out of touch with the actions of the film. And then the actions of the film are so farcical and stupid anyways, that it just never grounds him in a reality that we care about.
Well, and then for him to also leave, for them to say, hey, get out of here, and for him to leave, when all people in this situation full well know that, yes, the younger bad guy is gone now, but the dad of that younger kid is still there. And it was really the dad that was like orchestrating everything, and the dad that wanted the resort, and so the dad is the one that needs to get dealt with. And yes, he's in jail, but he's clearly still moving pieces on the board. And so that's another thing that felt unresolved, is they're like, hey, everything's better now. You drove a boat through our bar. Now get out of here. And he was like, okay. And they were like, cool. Everything's better now. And it's like, no, it's clearly not. Like, that guy's going to either get out of jail or just find another way to hassle you guys.
There was absolutely no resolution. It felt like he destroyed the bar, probably put it on its last legs. The guy in jail is just going to be like, get me Conor McGregor's cousin, who's also crazy and will kill all these people. And then they'll all die and be dead on the keys, and they'll bulldoze it for there was no reality connection there, making it realistic for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So, Jimmy, if you had to find a way to tell someone if they should watch these movies, what do you think? Do you think people should watch both movies, one movie, neither movie?
How do we do two? We've never done two before. It feels like,
I know. Do we have to come to a consensus on both? Do I have to say one way?
I feel like one is a watch and one is, it's like one is watch or not watch and the other is not a watch or watch. It's not that like, do we watch both of these movies combined or do we not watch both of them? I think that is the wrong way to approach this.
Do you have to have yin and yang, right? Do you have to have one to truly enjoy the other?
No.
I don't think so.
No, I think that is the dangerous thing about doing two movies is we ended up just really ragging on 2024 for like a bit longer than I think we even discussed 1989, which again, seminal masterpiece. But okay, here we go. So 1989, we're going back into the past. 1989 Roadhouse. I'm giving my review. It's a watch for me. 1989. You watch that movie. You have the 2024 Roadhouse, seminal masterpiece. You don't watch that movie. You never watch that movie. So you have a watch on 1989 and you have a not watch on 2024. I think there's no combination of those movies where you wouldn't watch 1989 and then you would watch 2024 and that one's better, or you don't watch either of them and have an okay time. I think my decision here is 1989. You go and you watch that movie. Then you're done. And then we were done. How about you?
Okay, I see what you're saying. All right, well, hear me out. 1989. You watch that movie. You absolutely watch that movie. You watch that movie, you fall in love with Sam Elliott. You watch it for the Patrick Swayze. You watch it for the Keith David. He's only in there like 5 minutes, but man, he's there. He steals the show. It's good. You watch that movie.
Great little part.
It's fun. It's so good. And then here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the 2024 one on Amazon Prime, which, you don't even have to pay for if you have Amazon Prime. You're going to go to that, and then you're not going to watch it. You're going to watch anything else, actually.
You're going to go into the movie and then switch off to something else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You're going to find a way to tell Amazon Prime, please don't pay for another one. Because I'm sorry. We both love Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, Prisoners, phenomenal. Great movie. I love him in a lot of things.
Donnie Darko.
Yeah. And, I want to point out that of the things I actually did like about the 2024 movie, it was Jake Gyllenhaal. He was the only
That one movie where he makes a rocket with Laura Dern.
Oh, Rocket Man.
No.
So, he absolutely saved this movie. If this movie did not have Jake Gyllenhaal and had a lesser actor in this role, it would have stunk so much worse.
Is it Enemies where he has a duplicate of himself and then there's a spider?
And the big old spider. Yeah.
That's a good one.
The only reason this movie did well, to me, was because of him. The supporting actors needed him. Like, the only reason that dweeb, was sold as a biker was because Jake Gyllenhaal was there saying, "You're a biker." And I said, okay, I believe that guy.
Yeah. It was, and a thing about it was this guy looks like he's acting, this guy acting against Jake Gyllenhaal looks like he's acting on stage for a high school play, was because Jake Gyllenhaal was believable. And I think, to the discredit of everyone else, acting his ass off in this movie, I don't think he really was that sold as like an MMA fighter. Again, I think that's a failure of the action choreo and a lot of the like shooting of the fights. But like his character was sold to me in a way that was the only thing that was believable about the movie.
Yeah, and I also want to point that out real quick because I forgot to mention that earlier, is that I'd love to, give Jakey some props that he did a lot of his own stunts for this movie. And I just wish it had gotten sold better by the movie itself, because he did some good work there. He did some really good work selling, being a like professional MMA fighter, not just some amateur. He did a good job selling that, but it just looked so bad because the movie. So, yeah, don't watch this one.
I do think the funniest bit that came out of it when we were watching it was that we were so over the movie by the time Conor McGregor even showed up. We've seen his ass like twice already in the movie. He's doing that silly, goofy like walk.
His little strut that he does.
Like he has a stick up his butt. Like, I don't know what's going on with that walk. But there's that one moment where I just decided that Conor McGregor had probably a deathly peanut allergy. And then he goes over to the derelict like pool house that the baddies hang out with for no reason. They're just there at that derelict house because it's Florida, I guess. And he's like, "Oh, sandwiches. I love sandwiches." And he like eats the sandwich. He's like, "Oh, peanut butter. I'm deathly allergic. Get me EpiPen, boys." Like there was no reason. None of the film, I don't think I would have survived the film if I had to actually pay attention to what Conor McGregor was doing. Because the whole time I was just like, he needs a doctor right now for that deathly peanut allergy. He is dying because of that peanut allergy.
Okay, so we make a 30-minute movie with this movie. First 20 minutes, Jake Gyllenhaal gets beat to death. Because he doesn't
2-minute scene of Conor McGregor eating a sandwich and dying.
Yeah. 20 minutes of poor Jakey getting his ass kicked because he doesn't actually have the skills to pay the bills. And then another 10-minute scene of Conor McGregor trying to sell that he's the toughest man ever by eating the one thing that will actually kill him.
No.
Oh boy!
It has that first scene where he like miraculously burns down a marketplace with no fire. It's just on fire. It's on fire as he walks away because it's like he's chaos incarnate. stupidest fucking character in the fucking movie. I don't even know. But yeah, he does that whole scene, and you're like, whoa, he's crazy. That's so cool. And then he shows up at the beach house, pool house, eats a sandwich, and then he's just like, I'm hard. And then he dies because he's just anaphylactic shock. And he's like, I stole these. Hey, me boyos, I stole these pants off of a man who didn't have an EpiPen. Well, the EpiPen was in a different pair of pants that I had.
Yeah, I lost my EpiPen.
Yeah. It's the only way I survived that movie was just like, oh, when Conor McGregor's on screen, he should be an anaphylactic shock, and his whole head should be swelling up 10 times the size.
Yeah.
I just couldn't exist in that film at all. There's a part where a guy gets eaten by an alligator, and 10 minutes before that scene, there's a guy on the dock that says, there's an alligator in here. And then Aaron was like, man, that alligator's going to show up later. It's going to be so cool. And then it was like 10 minutes later, the alligator eats that guy, and we're like, that was so fast.
Yeah.
There was that did not feel like a payoff to something we just learned. That was just, there certainly was an alligator there. I don't understand.
So often in movies, we want like that instant payoff that comes from a character being like, oh, look, it's the goo gun. It shoots goo at people. And you're like, oh, cool. I can't wait till they use this later. And then to actually have that instant payoff where they're like, there's an alligator. And then the alligator eats a dude. You're like, oh man, no, I hated that.
It was painful. And I think that little chunk of the movie sums up a lot of the feeling of that movie. We were like, something is set up, it's executed, and then we don't like that happened.
Okay, 35-minute movie. We got this.
Oh, no.
20
it gets
minutes
longer.
I know. This is how this first one started, was this exact process. But I got it. This is it.
Doug and the boys hanging out.
Yeah, 35 minutes. I can sell this. 20 minutes, Jakey dying. 10 minutes, Conor McGregor dying. 5 minutes, the alligator gets hired as the bouncer.
Oh.
Yeah. So she sees that the alligator eats a dude, and she's like, that's the hardest guy around here. That's who I need to protect my bar. She brings him into the bar, and then he kills all the bikers.
He kills everyone.
He kills everyone. And then it becomes an alligator world.
It's an alligator. For some reason, alligator eats a guy reminds me of that, like, Atta Baby eats a boy. It's like it's like the same sentence you're saying to me.
Roadhouse 2. Oops, all alligators.
I don't stop. It can't be in production. I saw maybe like Guy Ritchie's attached or something, and I'm like, just don't.
Amazon Prime, if you want your Roadhouse 2, you reach out to us, and I will give you the 35-minute movie that will make you so much money.
Jeff.
Because that's how it's got to happen.
Come on, Jeff.
Yeah, come on.
Come on. Give us $1 billion. We'll do it.
We'll do it.
We'll go. It doesn't even have. That's the thing. He's already been to the Keys. You know, the opposite of the Keys. He's going to California. You know, he's going to California. He's so far away from the Keys.
Yep.
You know what's in California? Tar pits. Think about it.
What's more dangerous than a tar pit?
Look, they're going to choose some other place that has some other stupid thing, and some other stupid thing's going to happen. If this movie exists and has to exist, they're going to do some stupid shit in it.
Dude,
can the action be better in the second one, though?
Oh, hopefully. No, they're gonna do like callbacks to not the '89 original. They're gonna do callbacks to the first movie. So like, yeah, there's gonna be another weird death like that where like an alligator eats someone, and they're gonna be like, "Remember this happened in the first one."
That's like calling back to nothing. That's
yeah.
That's like looking behind you and then no one's there.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh my god, all my homies are back behind me. There's no one there."
Yeah. Oh, hey, we got another tiki bar over here in California. It's called the Roadhouse 2. Get it? Ha 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 ha.
And it's TOO.
Yeah.
Make it stop, Aaron. We have to be done.
Yeah.
We're done talking about the Roadhouses. I can't anymore. But we agreed. 1989, watch.
Yes.
2024, do not watch.
Do not watch. Leave that one somewhere else.
We're like if Siskel and Ebert went insane. Well, that's it for Too Much Popcorn. Thank you so much for listening, and join us again next month for the next review of. Maybe we'll do 3 movies at the same time.
Maybe it'll be the next Roadhouse.
Can we go back to 1, please, Aaron? Please.